Welcome to another video from Every Other Friday Off. Today we're going to be installing Vogtland coilover suspension to my 2013 Fiat 500 Abarth. Then we're going to use some racing scales and the height adjustment on the coilovers to attempt to corner balance the vehicle. Starting in the front, we need to get access to the top of the strut. Two pop-off plastic covers hide the windshield wiper hardware. Pull straight up on the left-hand side of each cover. With the covers off, we can now see the little plugs on top of the windshield wipers. A flathead screwdriver will pop off the little caps that hide the hardware for the windshield wipers. A 13mm socket will remove the nut that holds the windshield wipers. With the nuts removed, it's time to wiggle the windshield wipers off. Don't be scared. Next, we're going to go after the plastic grill underneath the windshield. 3 plastic panel clips are located left, front, and center on the cowl and need to be removed. With the panel clips removed, the cowl can be lifted. Underneath the cowl, the windshield wiper tubing needs to be pulled from the sprayers and also from the clips on the cowl. With the tubing removed, you can wrestle that cowl out of place. Pop the caps, and now we can see the top of our struts. All the tires need to come off, and the vehicle needs to be safely supported off the ground. We need to compress the strut for the wheel that we're working on. Any type of jack can be used to press against the control arm or the rotor and compress the strut. Then loosen, but don't remove the nut holding the strut. Back underneath, the wheel speed sensor cable needs to be popped out of its clip on the strut. A small wire clip retains the brake line and can be removed with a flathead screwdriver. Be careful, that line is full of slowdown juice. Then the brake line can be popped out of its clip and removed from the strut and set aside. Now it's time to go after the strut pinch bolts. A 15mm wrench goes on one side, and on the nut side a 17mm deep well socket. I use a cheater bar on virtually everything, and there's no exception here. Each strut has 2 pinch bolts holding it to the hub. My car is originally from New York, so plenty of PB Blaster was used to loosen them up. Some gentle tapping will get the bolt out. If you're having trouble, adjust the compression on your jack. That looks like the front suspension of the Titanic. Look what the state of New York has done to my strut. Now if you're lucky, an impact wrench with a 16mm socket can be used to remove the sway bar end link. I am not lucky, so even though the rest of the strut is a pile of rust, the ball joint spins and spins. The sway bar end link has a 5mm internal hex. It can be used to counterhold while the nut is loosened, but be careful, it's made out of dust and silly putty. Alright, this means war. Goodbye, New York sway bar end link. We'll get you a $15 replacement tomorrow. This one was rusted garbage anyway. Now we're ready to remove the nut on top of the strut and the little washer. Now we're ready to drop the strut out of the way. Slowly release the jack. The sway bar end link will drop out on its way down. Pop the strut out of the knuckle, and out she comes. I swear this is not a rally car. For removing the nut on top of the shock, an impact wrench is a good idea. A spring compressor is not required. If an impact's not working, a hex key can be used to counterhold while an open-end wrench removes the nut from the shock. Remove the strut top mount from the top of the strut. Hello, bump stop. You can come too, but we're not going to use you again. Bye-bye. I'm also going to be reusing the dust covers, so let's pull those out and keep them for later. The previous owner of this car had used lowering springs with OEM dampers. I've heard that's a real bad idea on other cars, and after a couple miles on my new suspension, I have to agree it's a terrible idea on this car. Time for shiny new parts. These are height adjustable coilovers from Vogtland. They're not the best on the market. The height adjustment is going to change your spring rate. Stiffness and rebound are not adjustable. But the price is most definitely right, and the reviews are good, so we'll give them a shot. This was my first blind go at setting the height. A value of 52 or 53 millimeters from the bottom of the lift collar to the scribe line would have been better. And tightening the set screw on the lift collar was way optimistic at this point. The dust cover goes back on and gets worked back into the new springs. Springs have writing on them to let you know which way they go, and it's pretty intuitive with a different size top and bottom. The dust cover is going to have an impression where the old spring ended that can be matched up to the new spring. The new nut puts the whole pile back together again. It can be tightened all the way down, and you don't need a compressor to do it. The new strut gets fed up through the wheel well and into the strut mount. Have your hardware handy up top because you're going to pop right back up there and hang the strut using the big washer and the nut up top. We're not going to tighten the nut now, we just want the strut to not drop out of the strut mount. Alright, now we can go ahead and lift the knuckle back up into its mount and put those bolts back in. A little bit of jiggling and wiggling is what's necessary to get it lined up, especially if you're being stubborn and instead of using the jack, hossing the whole wheel hub into place by hand. The top hole is where a camber bolt would go if you're using them. I'm going to hold off this year. I'm changing a lot of things on this car. I want to run it for another season before learning even more variables to mess with. The brake line gets plugged into its little bracket, and the same thing goes for the wheel speed sensor. Nuts go on both the cross bolts, but we're not going to tighten them up yet. We need to compress our brand new strut, and while we're going up, it's a good time to line up and insert your sway bar end link. I'm going to go ahead and put the nut on to capture it, but I'm not going to tighten that up yet either. Back up top in the engine bay, we can go ahead and fully tighten our strut retaining nut. If you have a crow's foot to use, your torque is 41 foot-pounds. Now we can torque everything down below, 37 foot-pounds on the end link and 55 foot-pounds on the two pinch bolts. One height-adjustable coilover strut installed, and it looks a heck of a lot better than that Titanic mess I had before. And the most famous words in the Haynes manual, reassembly is the reverse of removal. Enjoy. If the front wasn't hard, the rear is really easy. We'll start by compressing the suspension by jacking up against one of the shock mounts. The lower shock mount bolt takes an E18 external Torx socket. I believe a 14mm box end wrench works as well, but I'm still carrying the scars of BMW ownership, so I had the socket. This bolt gets removed from both sides of the suspension, and when you're done, the shock will pop right out of the swing arm. With the bolts gone, we can slowly relieve pressure from the jack and lower the swing arm. Lowering the swing arm creates the clearance required in order for us to be able to reach in and remove the original spring. The original bump stop is just plugged into its mount with a rubber stop. Get rid of that thing. The original spring had an upper rubber isolator that screws onto the spring, and unless you've bought a new one, we're going to need that old one back. Our new height adjustable bump stop mounts to the bottom spring perch. Just drop it into place, the bolt comes up from underneath, and torque with a socket wrench. I apologize, I don't remember the number for a good starting position on this spring, but you only want one or two threads showing from its uppermost position. And now we can go ahead and loosen the upper shock mount, remove the bolt, and remove the shock. The new shock goes on just the same way the old one came off, and the bolt's replaced. Hold off on final torque until the full suspension's back together. And now we can put the spring back in. There's words on the spring to help you not screw it up. And we've installed our rubber upper isolator as well. After putting the spring in on the other side, we can go ahead and start to jack up the swing arm until we can align the eyelet of our shock with the swing arm. A little bit of jiggling, a little bit of wiggling, and we should be able to get that bolt right back in through the swing arm and the shock. At this point, everything's back together, so we can go ahead and start tightening things up. The lower shock mount gets 74 foot-pounds and the upper 52. Whew, that's done. All brand new shiny parts. Now when we put the car down, obviously with the wheels on, we're going to set it on some cool racing scales that I borrowed from a racing buddy. Check my ride heights to make sure that everything's even side to side. I also want to start keeping a log of where I've left the ride heights for all four corners, because I'm going to be making adjustments and I don't want to get lost. It doesn't matter where you measure from and to, just so long as it's consistent. Now I'm going to go ahead and get in the car because my weight matters too. And we're going to take a look at the loads on each of the four corners. The idea is that if you have equal weights across the corners, the car is going to steer left and right the same way. Spreadsheets are available to help do the math for you and give you pointers of what you should be adjusting. After every measurement, the car gets lifted back up so that we can adjust the coilovers. Lowering a corner, which is the same as uncompressing a spring, takes weight off of that corner. Raising a corner or compressing the spring adds load to that corner. Whatever you do on one corner has some effect on the other 3 corners, so the whole thing's kind of a giant frustrating puzzle. Up and down, over and over. I'm definitely not an expert at this, and I ended up putting the car up and down 30 times. In the end, I didn't get as close to perfect as I had hoped. In the end, I settled on a compromised weight distribution in order to keep side-to-side loading relatively equal while still doing well on cross weight. The good news is the Vogtland springs had plenty of adjustment for me to be able to throw the weight all over the various corners. I never got to my perfect solution, and I don't know if that has to do with the chassis of the Fiat or my own incompetence, but the great thing about incompetence is I don't know which. If you like this video, I hope you'll give me that like and consider subscribing to my channel. These videos take quite a bit of effort, and it's nice to know it's appreciated. These mods pretty well wrap up the suspension mods I'll be making for the upcoming autocross season, and now it's on to making power. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon on another episode of Every Other Friday Off.